If you're here, chances are that you are healing from a breakup. And maybe you're getting the urges to start dating again, to get into a new relationship, to find a rebound. Because let's be honest, going through a breakup is so incredibly tough. You're in a lot of pain. It feels like your heart is cracked open into a million pieces. There's so much sadness, loneliness, anger, despair happening right now. And on top of all that, maybe you're seeing your ex moving on so quickly. Maybe it feels like they are not hurting in any way and that you're the only one, and you're making that mean something about you, that they never cared about you. Maybe they found someone new, and then you want to match that energy. You want to be like, well, if they can move on so quickly, then so can I. This episode is for you. I get the desire to act upon these urges, but my love, this will sabotage your healing. Today, I'm going to share my story and the honest truth as to why getting into a new relationship or getting into a new dating rebound situationship with someone new is actually more damaging than you think. It can leave us feeling even more disconnected, insecure, and confused. And on top of all that, we're going to be repeating the same patterns that we have been seeing in our previous relationships. And I'm going to offer you a powerful alternative to fill in that empty space that you feel in the pit of your stomach, something that is going to take you to places where you can feel more calm, secure, assured of yourself. And that requires turning inwards and doing that deep inner work to become securely attached within yourself, so you are no longer repeating those patterns and attracting people like your ex, that you're really building that relationship with yourself. So before we get into this episode, I just wanted to let you know about my free 3-day training series, 3 Steps to Secure Attachment, which is happening starting on April the 21st. So if you're someone who is ready to do that inner work and you're no longer using a rebound or getting into dating right away as a coping mechanism, you want to start building that relationship with yourself, then this training is for you. So you can start to attract that healthy, aligned, soul nourishing love. But it starts with you. So go ahead into the show notes and click that link to join us on that free training. And I would be so honored to have you there. And together we can start to outline the roadmap of what it takes to work towards secure attachment. All right, let's get going with the episode. Welcome to the Relationship Rehab Podcast. I'm Sammy, a certified breakup and relationship coach, attachment specialist, former love addict, and spiritual junkie. This podcast is for you, the hopeless romantic who loves to love, and a safe space for us to explore and heal our attachment trauma, broken hearts, and love addictions. Together, we are on a mission to become the love of our own lives so we can have successful, healthy, secure relationships with others. So if you're ready to create a life and love beyond your wildest desires, you're in the right place. Your journey towards becoming more secure in love and life starts now. Hello, my loves, and welcome back to the Relationship Rehab Podcast. And today we are talking about breakups and why going after that rebound or jumping into dating right away could actually be the worst thing you can do and is more damaging than you think. And I'm going to share a little bit about what to do instead. I'm going to share my story of how I fell into this space of dating someone new right after a 2-year relationship. But before we get into that, just a quick little life update. It is my last day here in Kathmandu, Nepal. I've been here for 2 months now already, and for those of you who know me, I absolutely adore this country. But I will say, every time I come here, I'm like a new version of myself. It's like so many layers have peeled away, and such a reflective space for me actually to be in this country. And I noticed that I get very dysregulated and overstimulated by all the noise and the smells and the chaos that is here, but still I adore it very much. So much spirituality in the mountains are incredible, but I am ready to get back home to Thailand, but if you are someone who wants to come to Nepal, I highly, highly recommend it. It's been a beautiful 2 months. I have completed my yoga teacher training as well. That was very intense, but I'm very proud of myself for doing that. It's been a dream of mine for a long time. And this topic of getting into a new relationship after breakup is something that has been on my mind since meeting up with an old friend a couple of days ago. And no, it's not the ex, but it's a friend of the ex who became my friend as well. And it's been 6 years since I've seen this person, and it was quite a profound moment of realizing how much I've changed and who I used to be back then. And when I knew this person, I was in this space where I was dating someone new, and I was still hurting and healing from a 2-year relationship with someone that I thought was my person, someone I thought that I was going to spend the rest of my life with. And I just want to share, as I was doing my own personal reflections, share with you guys what was happening for me back then, to see if I can shed some light on what may be happening for you right now, and try to see if I can redirect you from making some of the same mistakes I did that really did set me back in my healing journey. Because I was on a quote unquote a healing journey back then, maybe not as profound as the one that I ended up getting into after this situationship that I was in, but still I increased a lot of the pain and heartbreak that I felt for going after this rebound, this person right after being in the relationship. So let me take you back to that time. Like I said, it was 6 years ago, and I had just left Thailand from going through this breakup, and I was only, I think, 2 months in to us going through this breakup, and I went to Nepal. And I initially came to Nepal because I needed to heal my heart. I wanted to go trekking. I was staying with a friend, and it was my intention to just really spend this time alone and mend my heart and learn from the lessons, and then come out of Nepal all healed and secure. That was the intention. And like I said, sometimes we don't even intend to meet someone new. It just happens. And I hope that this episode will provide some insights on how maybe you can slow that process down if you don't want to stop it completely as well. But it's also useful if you are feeling those urges to date someone new, because I was still very much anxiously attached back then. And even though I was saying all the things that I wanted to spend all this time with myself and be in my sacred single era, deep down, if I truly and honestly admit to myself, I was hoping to find someone new, because the pain that I was in was so much. It was too much to bear at times, and I felt so lonely, so lost, so unchosen, so unspecial. And not to say that it was traumatic breakup, not at all, but this is what I was feeling. This is where I was emotionally. I felt like I wanted to almost like unplug from this person and plug into another person, because I didn't know how to plug in to myself and give me all the things that I was looking for. Instead, I was focused on, let me get over this breakup so I can find someone new. And when we think that way, what we're doing is just looking for a replacement. And when we look for a replacement from the same space that we've been in, chances are that we're going to attract someone who is similar to that person. Now, that's not necessarily my story here. The story goes for me that I was coming out of the relationship with a mostly secure man, but unfortunately found myself falling into what was my pattern before, which was an emotionally unavailable person that was making me chase and making me feel like I wasn't good enough. And in all honesty, he was in a space where he didn't want a relationship, but I didn't listen to that. I interpreted that as, I challenge you to change my mind. So my ego got in the way there. But what I do remember was when this person came into my life and I was newly single, I saw that I could just avoid the pain that I was in and get those incredible feelings back again of what it's like to be in a relationship. And I think when we're so vulnerable and open in that way, we lose a lot of our discernment. So there were red flags that came up. There were things that he said that back then, looking back, I should have maybe listened a little bit more and taken his word for it that this is not going to be anything serious. If I paid more attention to his actions of inconsistency and I was in a more secure, healed space, I would have stepped away far sooner than I did, and I would have saved myself a lot more heartbreak on top of the heartbreak that I was already going through. So because I was so open and raw, I feel like the feelings that I had towards this person was amplified so much to the point where I fell into a state of infatuation. I now saw this person as the solution to my pain. And we are wired to move away from pain and towards pleasure. Now, the amount of pain that we're in really does decipher the amount of pleasure that we want to bring in to our life rather than going through it slowly. This was someone who was going to fix all my problems and make me happy again, because I didn't want to feel so anxious and depressed. And on top of that, before I left for Thailand, I did, okay, I'm going to admit it to you guys, I did see on my partner's social media that he may be dating someone new. Now, I didn't have any solid evidence of this, but what I did notice was he was liking a certain girl's photos, he was making comments, and there was a lot of interaction between them both on social media. And of course, we become the best detectives when our anxious hearts are activated. And this girl was someone who had came into our lives right at the end of our relationship. So I already had a bit of a hypervigilance towards this friendship that they were forming. And I then interpreted that he no longer cared about me, he never loved me, and now he's going after this other girl who at the time I thought was a much better fit for him. I still believe that in some way now that I have healed and come out of that space, but that was more beautiful than me, more calmer than me, and everything was just more better about her than me. So why would he not go after her? Maybe that's why he broke up with me. And all these stories started to come up to the surface, which left me even more in despair and insecure and feeling completely and utterly rejected and abandoned by my ex. So I was dealing with that pain as well. And looking back, those narratives were running in my mind of, well, if he can move on as quick as he has, then so should I. Like, why am I in this pit of sadness when he's living his best life? And I started to dismiss, to invalidate myself, to shame myself of feeling so heartbroken. I'm like, for goodness sake, girl, get up and get on with it. My British mentality came in a way, and I was like, right, I just need to find someone new and everything will be fine. And that's how I then fell into this space. And that's what was driving the neediness, the craving, the desire, the urges, the infatuation, the obsession that I felt towards this new person, really badly wanting him to fill that empty hole that was within me because I didn't know how to feel it for myself. Looking back, when I was chasing this connection, I became completely disconnected with myself. I completely went off the charts with my anxious attachment to the point where I had broken out in acne. I had lost a lot of clients in my marketing business because I couldn't focus on my work. I was missing deadlines. I couldn't eat. I couldn't sleep. I felt like this lovesick teenager. And it wasn't because he was the most incredible, perfect individual, even though he was a great guy, but there was a lot of red flags that I had missed. But I so desperately wanted to fill that empty space. And then I eventually realized I'm not healing. I'm not actually healing. I'm completely avoiding really going into the depths of my feelings in order to process the breakup, in order to process my emotions and come out the other end. And I was completely avoiding the fact that I had these subconscious beliefs running the show that I'm not good enough, that I'm not worthy, and I wanted to prove them wrong using an external validation, aka another person. So the way that this set me back was when it did end 4 months later, because it was the typical anxious avoidance situationship, it left me even more crumbled, broken, just in this space of complete depression. And now not only was I having to deal with one person in my head rejecting and abandoning me, I had to deal with two. And then here's the kicker. I then started to get a little bit obsessed with the other guys, the second guy's social media and personal life, and was starting to notice the same things happening where he was now liking and commenting on other girls' posts, and I'm like in my head thinking that he's found a new girlfriend. I'm dealing with double heartbreak in this moment. And it feels like complete and utter betrayal. It was one of the worst times in my life, and I have never felt such sadness and despair and loneliness. And I was just digging myself into a deeper hole, and I felt like no one cared, no one loved me, and I was left picking up all these pieces by myself while they're off on vacation with other new girlfriends. And I get it, in that moment, you feel so angry, so confused, and so in pain. You just want to keep finding a coping mechanism to take it away as quick as possible. And that's the thing, your brain is really urging you to do that, to follow that path. And sometimes it requires us to really take that step back and fight those urges, fight our brain, and acknowledge in yourself, I know I'm in so much pain right now, but I'm going to do what's best for me. I know that you want to go ahead and fill that gap and be away with the pain and fall into pleasure and another new relationship and a rebound. But I know deep down that this is a short-term fix, and it is. It's a band-aid approach to the pain that you're feeling. It's just using something and someone to take away the pain that you're feeling in that moment, but the next day, the next week, the next month, it's not going to take it away. It's still going to be there. If anything, it's going to amplify it. So in that moment where we want to feel loved and we want to have that attention and to feel special to someone, it's not about missing them or trying to find a person, but it's about our ego feeling so damaged and our worth feeling so splattered out on the floor, and the need to feel chosen again. So then what happened next was COVID hit, and I found myself completely alone in Bangkok without family. Thankfully I had friends and my ex's family as well who supported me, but I was forced to sit with myself in my little condo, as a lot of us did in the world. A lot of us had to sit with ourselves, that we couldn't distract ourselves anymore with work and social events and friends and even dating. We had to, we were forced. And this is when I'm so thankful for this time that I had during COVID. Many of us had these spiritual awakenings and just awakening overall to our lives. And I realized the patterns and the behaviors and everything that I was doing that was sabotaging myself, that was hurting myself, that I was abandoning myself. And I realized that I had to go through it, that I cannot no longer distract myself with other men, with work, with anything. And I can no longer believe that time heals, because time alone doesn't heal. It's what you do with that time that heals. Otherwise, we're just stretching it out, distracting ourselves until the next person comes along. You can sit in a cave for a year post-breakup and still carry the same anxious patterns into the next relationship. But unless you actively reflect, regulate, and rebuild yourself after these relationships, then nothing will change. And it was in that space in my condo in Bangkok that I realized actually rebounding was a part of my coping mechanism from when I was going through a breakup. This wasn't the first time that I did this. Every time I was going through a breakup, I got into a new connection or relationship quickly afterwards. And I was reflecting upon this pattern and wondering what is going on beneath the rebounds that I was falling into and hurting myself even more with. And this is the truth of it. We jump into dating far too quickly, or a rebound connection, because we, like I said, we want to avoid the pain that we're feeling. We want to be able to match the energy that our ex is in, of finding someone new. When we have these beliefs, well, if they can move on so quickly and find someone new, then so can I. And it gives us the illusion that we're moving on, that it no longer bothers us, because we want to be able to be in this space of complete detachment, that it doesn't bother us, that we are fine, and the next person is going to fulfill all our needs and everything's going to be great. But what it really does is keeps us stuck in these anxious, avoidant attachment cycles that we are finding ourselves in, that I found myself in. And the biggest thing as to why I was doing it was because I didn't know how to be alone. I didn't know how to be single. I didn't like it. I hated the fact that I was single, because what I made that mean about me was that I didn't matter to anybody, that I wasn't special, that I had no meaning. I wasn't enough. I wasn't chosen. I'm just here in the world on my own. And that is so heavy when you don't have that deep self-love for yourself. And it hurts those inner child wounds that we're carrying about not being enough, of not being important. And then we start to adopt these protector mechanisms. They start to come in, all guns blazing, because our inner child is wounded. And that past pain is starting to come up to the surface of how alone we are, how irrelevant we are. And it's like, right, we need to do something about this so we don't feel like this anymore. And one of those coping mechanisms is rebounding. Because as long as we have someone in our lives, as long as we're talking to someone, as long as we have someone checking up on us with a "how is your day going" text, then we can almost get that external validation that we are enough, that we are important, that we have meaning to somebody. But when we are not conscious of this happening, we are attracting people that can only give us that. They cannot go deeper. They can only give us those surface level band-aid approach and not go deeper. Maybe you recognize this when you do start dating someone new and you get into a situationship after a relationship. There is no capacity there to go deeper from both sides. For you, you're still healing. You're just trying to find a replacement in that moment. And for them, they've got their own stuff going on. So the cycle is just perpetuating. And what often happens in a rebound is that we just completely bypass grief. And I know, being a high achieving woman, I remember thinking to myself, I can't afford to waste time on sitting around crying. I need to get back out there. I need to take action. And this is kind of, again, a protector mechanism coming from a masculine energetic space of, I don't want to feel. I just want to get back out there. Just get on with it. Just find someone new and everything will be fine. But we're also carrying a lot of our projection into that new relationship, because maybe you didn't find someone who is more avoidant. Maybe you did find someone who is ready and willing to give you all of the commitment and the love and the safety and all the things that you're looking for. But because you've been burnt so much in the past that you can't trust this new connection, that you're now projecting your pain that you felt from the previous relationship onto this person. And being like, well, I don't know, I have trust issues because my ex cheated on me. Well, I don't know if I can really trust that you actually say that you love me, but I don't know if you do, because that's what my ex said. And look what happened there. So all the wounding and the pain is still being carried within us, and we're now projecting that onto the new relationship that we're in. And what's happening in that moment, we are starting to outsource the healing that we need, rather than anchoring into our own energy, rather than integrating the experience that we've been through and going internally within and seeing what needs our attention before we look externally of ourselves for that new connection. You're trying to fill the hole someone left instead of figuring out why it was there in the first place. All right, so now that we've gone through together why rebounding as a coping mechanism or making the decision to start dating before you're ready can actually be more damaging than healing, and the shift that you actually need, what you need to do instead. And, I have already given you the answer, and that is to go within and do the work on yourself so you can start changing and the way that you show up in relationships, but also attracting a different type of person that is going to meet you on the new level that you are calling yourself to grow into. So I cannot stress this enough, but the most beautiful, the greatest thing you can do for yourself when you're healing from a breakup is to really rebuild that relationship with yourself. Slow down. If you are talking to somebody, I'm not here to tell you to not talk to them or to not progress in a new relationship. That's not what I'm saying at all, but I am inviting you to really slow down the process, to really invite conversations with this new person of, I've just left a relationship that I need to heal from. And in order for our relationship to progress, in order for me to show up as my best self in the connection that we have, I need to make sure I have enough space, that I am putting things in place in my life to really support myself, to integrate that experience that I just had, so I'm not projecting my pain, I'm not carrying that with me, and I can start afresh and anew with you, knowing that I have taken the lessons and the learnings from that previous connection that I've just had. Because if we don't integrate it, we internalize. So all the nervous system dysregulation and the beliefs that we have about ourselves and the narratives that has come from the past relationship, the trust issues, everything is going to internalize and is going to stay with you and is going to go deeper and deeper and deeper unless you're willing to bring it up to the surface and unpack it. Now, that can be a very daunting task to do by yourself, and a lot of us don't, myself included. It's like, where do I even begin? I don't know, and it's so overwhelming and it's too much, and I'd rather just bury my head in the sand, sweep it all under the carpet, and just go the easy route, which is to find that new person, and hopefully they will make me feel better. So I'm saying that this is a tough decision. This is not the easy, quick fix. And this is why whenever I have a client come into my programs, whether it's private, group, anything, I absolutely commend them. And I can see how brave they are because they're choosing a different path in that moment. They are no longer going to choose to do what they were doing before. They are now saying yes to something, to someone that can really, truly help them heal their hearts and integrate those lessons and level up into secure attachment so things can be so different for them in their love life. So the things that I did in that condo to really start my healing process was I allowed myself to feel. I think a lot of us, especially in our modern day society, feel like we don't have time to feel, we don't want to feel, and we have too much to do in order to feel. And that was the blessing of COVID for me, that it did force me to feel. So really and truly, it's so productive. I know it might not feel like it in the moment when you're releasing, crying, you're angry, you're feeling all these emotions and they're so uncomfortable. But I promise you, if you allow them the space to be expressed and move them through, your nervous system will thank you for it. You will start to understand what it's like to be dysregulated in order to soothe yourself and come down into a state of regulation. And from that space, then you can start to integrate tools that will support you to stay regulated and grounded. Because let me know, I know a lot of us, after a big cry, we feel so much better. Crying is one of the best emotional releases that we can do for ourselves. Now, I'm not saying that we need to cry 24/7, and we feel like sometimes we are, and that's what we need. We need to allow that pain to be released. And slowly and surely, you will start to notice that you are crying less and less. You're starting to feel more joy. Pockets, it might be very little snippets at first, but they're there. Say, okay, what is allowing this pocket of joy to come into my life? How can I amplify that more? How can I support myself to stay in a self-soothed space, in a regulated space? And then we can start to learn these really incredible grounding somatic practices. I also dive deep into attachment styles and what I needed to do in order to recognize how my anxious attachment patterns and trauma was sabotaging me, was putting me in these spaces where I'm abandoning myself. And then I started to do that deeper healing work, where I started to unpack the different childhood beliefs that I was holding, the different wounds. The big one was abandonment. And that was what was driving a lot of my behavior in my past relationships. And I just did not want to be abandoned because that was too painful. So instead I chased, I pleased, I proved, I did everything in order for not to be abandoned, only to be abandoned. You know, and it was self-fulfilling prophecy because I completely abandoned myself as well. So it's about looking at those wounds that we're still carrying and looking about how we are neglecting our inner child and our needs and the boundaries that we need to set in order to create a respectful, committed relationship. So this was no easy task, let me tell you. I dived into therapy, coaching, any type of support that I could get my hands on, and building it up from there and really being committed to myself. When I first started doing it, I will admit I was doing it so I could get another relationship, so the next partner that I would have would be more secure. But what I learned along the way, and which was so beautiful, and I see this in a lot of my clients' journeys as well. Yes, the external motivation may be to get a new relationship and a new partner, but along the way you truly find yourself and you start to realize and notice that that is the biggest gift of all. To find that inner peace and inner security within yourself, and that realization that we have been searching outside of ourselves for so long, when all this time it was within us. We just needed help to clear and cleanse and detox ourselves from the conditioning that we've received, from the programming that is sabotaging us, from those beliefs and wounds that are causing us to put these protector behaviors in place. So healing isn't this passive thing. It's a conscious choice to show up for yourself, to prioritize you, to refuse to no longer fall into these anxious avoidance cycles and allow other people to have so much power over you. And it's usually, when we think about the breakup stages, it's usually in stage 4, which is called rage, that we have this anger. Now, if you're in this space or getting to this space, I want to encourage you to really lean into this. Now, I'm not saying you need to now display unhealthy anger, which may mean towards other people or taking revenge. That's not what this is about. Healthy anger is taking that energy and using it to fuel you, where you're like, right, I absolutely no longer, I refuse to be retreated in this way ever again. I am determined to do something about this, and I know it starts with me. And that energy can be so empowering, so refreshing. It's like everything just goes poof, and all of a sudden you're just back out into the world and you are so committed to yourself and your life and making changes. And it's in that moment that I realize a lot of my clients come into my programs, because now they're fueled, they're fired up, and they're ready to go. Such a beautiful thing to witness. And I want to invite you to really hone in on that energy, whatever energy you're in right now, whether it's an energy of sadness, an energy of anger, an energy of empowerment, an energy of joy. Maybe you're feeling all of the things. Just really allowing all those different emotions and energy to be present for you. So if you're nodding along right now and you're like, yep, I've been there, or I am there, where I feel myself wanting to date before I'm ready, to find that rebound, falling into these connections, or I have this energy where I'm determined to make changes. I refuse to no longer fall into my attachment trauma and be a victim to it, that I can take back control of my life. I want to personally invite you to join my brand new 3-day masterclass series, 3 Steps to Secure Attachment. It is completely free, and it is the roadmap that I take all of my clients through and have been through myself. It is tried, tested, and proven that going through these 3 phases of healing will get you to that destination of secure attachment. So in the training, we're going to spend 3 days together, and we're going to go through it in a deep way. This isn't just some overview, fluffy 1 hour masterclass. Like, I'm really committing to your progress and your journey here, and we're going to break down 1 step at a time. So we're going to look at how awakening your awareness of your patterns and aligning you with your secure self that is within. I really believe that we're all born secure, and to be able to support you to anchor in on that securely attached self and the kind of love that doesn't come from chasing or fixing or proving yourself, but from inner peace and true connection, self-connection. And it's going through these 3 phases that you will then start to realize that everything you've been looking for outside of yourself is within. And the people that will come into your life are a complement to what you're building for yourself, and not the completion, not the whole world that we have been seeing our partners up until now. They don't complete us, they just complement us. And this really is the program that I wish I found when I was sitting in that condo in Bangkok during COVID. I really wish I had something like this training to really give me this roadmap of what it looks like to go from anxious to secure, because believe me, I was so overwhelmed. And I was like, I have so much work to do. And when we feel this, we can just almost cripple ourselves and not make progress, because the whole journey just seems too much. And I promise you, it's not as big as you think it is. And we're going to do this step by step. And you will start to see those small wins, small progress. And that is what truly matters, not these big explosions of healing that a lot of us are looking for in today's world. So like I said, it is totally free, and you can sign up right now using the link in the show notes below. If you can't find it, the website is www.samireedcoaching.com. That's Sami, S-A-M-I. And you can find the sign up page to the masterclass series there on my website. So I would be honored to have you join us. And saying yes to yourself, taking this first step, is the shift, is the decision being made for yourself. You're halfway there when you make a decision, when you make a commitment, and the rest is just amplified. This is the hardest thing, is saying yes to yourself, saying yes to healing, saying yes to a program that is going to support you to get to where you want to be, which is everything that you deserve. And that is to feel peace within yourself, to feel peace within relationships, and to feel safe. So my loves, I will leave you there. I hope that this episode has truly supported you. And as always, reach out to me, send me a DM, let me know how this episode has landed, if it's supported you in any way, if you have any follow-up questions, or you just want to share your story with me. I would love to hear. My DMs are open for you. And I want to leave you with this last statement, if you will, and that is that you do not need a new relationship to feel loved and whole. You need a new relationship with yourself. You can make yourself feel loved and whole. And when you get to that space, that is something that no one can ever take away from you, no matter what you're going through in your life. Sending you all my love, and I'll see you in the next episode. Thank you so much for joining me on the Relationship Rehab podcast. I hope that this episode has supported you in healing, growing, and evolving out of insecure attachment and unhealthy relationship patterns and into safe, authentic love with yourself and others. If you enjoyed the episode, it would mean the absolute world to me if you would just take a second to rate and review this podcast. Every rating and review from you guys counts, as it really helps this podcast to grow so it can reach more people who need to hear this content. And don't forget to connect with me on social media. Take a screenshot of this podcast episode, share it on your IG stories, and tag me at the.relationship.rehab with your biggest takeaway from the episode. I really do love reading them. See you back here next week for another episode on the Relationship Rehab Podcast.